I want to touch on really quick, just as a side, is just with so much love for us to recognize that if we are starting to pick up a lot of energy, starting to feel like there's a lot of thoughts, a lot of movement, or a lot of energies in our thoughts, as if it's busy all of a sudden, or feeling as though it's feeling as though the communication lines are open to a lot of individuals. One of the things that we want to be just really aware of is, where have we been, who have we been around. This is very, very important for us to recognize that there are certain places that we may find ourselves being drawn to. So I'm going to give a few different examples. One of these is going to be hotspots, grid location places. So Stargates, hotspots, churches, um, different megaliths, different sacred sites on the planet. If we find ourselves traveling to some of these particular hotspots, that there is not only the energy of whatever is happening energetically within the land that has attracted those sacred spots to be there, but there is also the massive accumulation of the different other beings that are attracted to that place, and many times different entities and different beings that are attracted, many times attaching to very unsuspecting beings who are attracted to those places. If you were an opportunist entity, where would you hang out? I'd want to hang out where all the amazing, bright, shiny beings were coming, right? And so when we go to these places, we are starting to learn from our highest discernment that we show up as fully aware light warriors, right? That we're not going into these places without kind of that in mind. Secondary to this, the two most highly targeted areas that we need to be careful for are going to be things like metaphysical fairs, crystal shows, different workshops, or these kinds of events, like, cosmic expos, or any of these things that were maybe a lot of public speakers are coming, or they're doing fairs or tables, or you know I think mainly they're called expos, but again, there's different places where individuals will gather, especially when it has a lot of the charge of the crystals and these kinds of things around there. There's twofold within this, it's the same thing. Anytime you go to a conference, an expo, any of these kinds of places, you want to just immediately set your energy field to be on the highest level of alert within these places. It is probably one of the most heavily targeted places to go to, and I would recommend doing a massive clearing after leaving. Please just know this isn't to deter from going to these places, but most authentic speakers that go to those places leave very, very sick. Very, very sick because of the types of different targetings that are in those places. Now, those are the bigger expos and things like this. Now, going into a crystal shop, going into a metaphysical fair, these kinds of different things like this is just as challenging for us many times. And one of the things that we don't recognize is we think of crystals many times as these beautiful things. They're not. They're supercharged and super programmed computerized crystals. They are packed with wherever they've been, whomever's touched them. So wherever they were dug up, whoever excavated them, wherever they were transported, whatever storage place that they were ever put in, all of this gets recorded into their energy field. Not all crystals are gathered with respect. Most crystal shops, if you go to them and you are truly sensitive, you will feel heartache, because it's basically a lot of captured energy that has a lot of trauma, basically in like a sell and trade industry. And it is not as beautiful on the energetic level. So I find a lot of times, if I ever get drawn to certain ones, a lot of times it's just a matter of healing, 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 healing a lot of these crystals within there. Now, within there, It's also to recognize that many times entities will attach, they will have holographic records, almost kind of like a CD disc, where if you get near it, it activates and it starts communicating with you. So if you start to get around a lot of these, a lot of times it can start to sound like a lot of chatter and a lot of busy or a lot of energy within the field. It can also affect emotions. Now, within that, when we recognize that within these types of things, it's just to many times just take a little moment afterwards in order to clear and to maybe do the shadow vortex within these places, and to recognize that if we do catch energy in any of these places, that we want to not get down on ourselves. We don't want to feel like something's wrong or something's broken or that we did something wrong, but we do want to recognize that it doesn't matter at what level you're at. That even if you're running pure Christ star energy all the time, there are certain places that if we go and we spend a significant amount of energy or time there, you are probably going to take days detoxing it. It's just rule of thumb. If you guys can keep that in mind, it's not that something's wrong. It's not that something's bad. It's not that you're getting targeted. It's just like you've caught something and you need to detox it. That is all. So I hope that's helpful for some of the things that we also kind of deal with on a multi-level experience as we travel, as we do things, that we just want to be super discerning everywhere we go and everything we do, and that there is many times this sense that we get into places where we feel like, oh, the energy is amazing here. Well, it's the last place we want to let our guard down, so to speak. And within that, the natural impulse for us is to be like, oh, well, I'm in a place that feels familiar, it feels like home, and I want to let my guard down. And the thing is that we are still in a very polarized reality here, so we want to just have a lot of discernment within that. So with so much love.